Imagine waking up every day playing a character, smiling when you don't want to, agreeing when you actually disagree, living a life that, deep down, doesn't feel like yours. What if the person you show to the world isn't who you truly are? There is a silent secret that traps millions of people, a deep fear of not being accepted. So they adapt, hide, and slowly disappear behind the masks they created to survive. But today, you're about to uncover that invisible force. And why, until you confront it, living with true authenticity will remain out of reach. The most unsettling part. It may already be controlling your life without you even noticing. Most people move through life wearing invisible masks, roles they learn to play to be liked, respected, or simply accepted. The devoted professional, the strong one who never breaks, the agreeable friend who never says no. This idea was deeply explored by Carl Jung, who believed that society quietly teaches us which parts of ourselves are acceptable and which must be hidden. At first, the mask feels protective. It helps you belong. But over time, the cost becomes impossible to ignore. A constant background anxiety, as if you're always being watched. A strange emptiness even when everything seems to be going well. And the most dangerous feeling of all, living without a clear sense of purpose, because the life you're building may not even be yours. The tragedy is that many people never realize what's happening. They don't know the exhaustion they feel comes from performing a version of themselves instead of actually living. To understand why so many people feel disconnected from themselves, you first need to recognize a powerful psychological split described by Carl Jung. He called one side the persona, the version of you carefully designed for the outside world. It's the employee who pretends to love a job they secretly hate, the friend who laughs at jokes that feel uncomfortable, the person who says, "I'm fine," while silently falling apart. The persona isn't evil. It helps you function in society. But there is another side. Jung called it the shadow, the hidden parts of your personality you were taught to suppress, your anger, your ambition, your sensitivity, your unconventional desires, everything that once made others raise an eyebrow. So you learn to lock it away. And here's the tension most people live with. The stronger the persona becomes, the deeper the shadow is buried. You see it in the perfectionist, who is terrified of being exposed as not enough. In the people-pleaser who secretly resents everyone. Real identification begins the moment you ask yourself a difficult question. Are you living as who you are, or as who you learned you should be? What if the discomfort you've been feeling isn't a flaw, but a signal? According to Carl Jung, the real transformation of a human life begins with a process he called individuation, the courageous path of becoming who you truly are, rather than who the world expects you to be. Individuation is not about reinventing yourself. It is about removing what was never truly yours. It means questioning inherited beliefs, letting go of roles that suffocate you, listening to the quiet inner voice you may have ignored for years. But here is the truth few are prepared to hear. This path demands courage, because the moment you stop performing, some people may not recognize you anymore. Others may resist your change, not because you are wrong, but because your authenticity forces them to confront their own masks. And even harder than facing the world is facing yourself. Individuation requires an honest internal confrontation, acknowledging desires you denied, emotions you buried, and potentials you were once too afraid to explore. Yet on the other side of that confrontation lies something rare. A life that finally feels like it belongs to you. If becoming your true self is so liberating, why do so many people avoid it? The answer begins earlier than most realize. From childhood, you are subtly trained to seek approval. Praise teaches you what to repeat. Criticism teaches you what to hide. Over time, belonging becomes emotionally linked to obedience, and rejection starts to feel like a threat to survival. This is why authenticity can feel dangerous. Early ideas from Sigmund Freud helped shape our understanding of the unconscious, the hidden mental forces influencing behavior without our awareness. But it was Carl Jung who expanded this vision, proposing that much of what we fear confronting is not only repressed, it is unexplored potential, So the fear isn't just about being judged. It is the fear of losing connection, of disappointing expectations, of standing alone. Many prefer the quiet misery of conformity over the uncertainty of self-discovery, because at least the mask feels familiar. But here is the paradox. What you avoid confronting internally will eventually surface as restlessness, chronic dissatisfaction, or the haunting sense that you are living someone else's life. And the longer it is ignored, the louder it becomes. At some point in life, the mask begins to crack. It rarely happens in a dramatic moment. More often it shows up as a quiet discomfort, the growing sense that the life you are living no longer reflects who you are becoming. Many people describe it as an internal misalignment. You achieve what you were supposed to achieve, yet something feels missing. This is the emotional turning point that Carl Jung believed was essential for psychological growth. The moment when continuing to perform becomes more painful than telling the truth to yourself. For some, it arrives as exhaustion. And for many as a persistent question, how much of my life is actually mine? The individuals who find meaning are not the ones who never felt fear. They are the ones who stopped organizing their lives around it. Because the moment you choose internal alignment over external approval, something fundamental shifts. You stop asking, will I be accepted? And start asking, is this honest? That question alone has the power to redirect an entire life. Knowing your true self is powerful, but insight alone does not transform a life. What creates change is deliberate, sustained action. The first step is deeper self-observation. Most behaviors are automatic, shaped by years of conditioning. Begin noticing the moments when your reaction feels immediate, agreeing too quickly, apologizing without reason, staying silent when something matters to you. Ask yourself a precise question in those moments. Am I choosing this? Or am I protecting an image? Pay attention to your emotional signals as well. Persistent fatigue, irritation, or emotional numbness often indicate that you are investing energy in maintaining a version of yourself rather than expressing who you are. Journaling can accelerate this awareness. Patterns become visible when your thoughts are no longer just internal noise. Observation is not about judgment. It is about seeing clearly. The second step is accepting your shadow, a concept central to Carl Jung. The shadow is not your dark side. It is the unlived part of you. Traits you were once discouraged from expressing did not disappear. They went underground. For example, someone taught that ambition is selfish may unconsciously sabotage their own growth. A person told that showing emotion is weakness may struggle to form deep relationships. What you suppress does not lose power. It operates from the background. Acceptance begins when you stop labeling parts of yourself as wrong and start asking what they are trying to communicate. Often, your strongest discomfort hides your greatest developmental opportunity. Integration is the goal, not indulgence. Anger becomes assertiveness. Fear becomes discernment. Sensitivity becomes perception. When the shadow is acknowledged, you recover psychological energy that was previously spent on repression. And that energy becomes available for building a life that is genuinely yours. Failure is not the greatest tragedy a person can experience. The real tragedy is moving through life without ever becoming who you were meant to be. Many people spend years chasing approval, stability, or expectations, only to reach a quiet moment and wonder why their achievements feel strangely empty. Not because they failed, but because they succeeded at being someone else. As Carl Jung often suggested through his work, the privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you truly are. Yet that privilege demands honesty, the kind that asks you to release the mask, confront what you have avoided, and step into a life that reflects your inner reality. So here is the question that remains. When you look back at your life one day, will you recognize the person who lived it? Or will you realize you were only playing a role written by someone else? If something in this message resonated with you, pause for a moment and reflect. Where in your life are you choosing acceptance over authenticity? That single question may be the beginning of everything. Before you move on with your day, take a quiet second and ask yourself, what is one part of me I've been hiding that is ready to be lived? If this reflection sparked something inside you, don't let it fade with the next distraction. Write it down. Think about it tonight. Return to it this week. And if you value conversations that challenge the way you see yourself, the kind that push you toward a more intentional, meaningful life, make sure you're here for the next one, because the person you are becoming deserves your full attention.